This One News podcast is brought to you by the National Bank. It's all part of the service.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Good to have you with us. Well, according to our next guest, many of the successful women of the world, including our own Helen Clark, owe part of their success to attending a single-sex school. Well, Dr. Leonard Sax is here visiting schools in Auckland and Hawke's Bay and outlining why there should be more single-sex public schools, especially at primary level. And he joins me now. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
You say that boys are motivated in different ways from girls. So what exactly do you mean by that?
Well, differences in cognition, that is, differences in how girls and boys think or learn, turn out to be very small, almost trivial. But what's really dramatically different between girls and boys, especially amongst the younger children, is what they want to do. The differences are not in what they can do, but in what they want to do. The best way to get boys excited about learning is very different from the best way to get girls excited about learning.
Give me some examples then.
Well, a very simple example is standing versus sitting. We now have lots of evidence that 6-year-old boys, for example, many of them learn better when they're standing. If you ask them to sit still and be quiet, as one teacher said to me, she said, when that boy sits down, his brain shuts off. And these boys are sitting, they're not paying attention. In North America especially, these boys are likely to be diagnosed with attention deficit disorder, and people want to put them on medications. What these boys need is not medications, but teachers who know how to teach boys.
It can come down to things like lighting and the temperature of a room as well.
Indeed. There's a very compelling study from Texas Tech University showing that the best ambient temperature for boys to learn is about 20 degrees Celsius, for girls about 23 degrees Celsius.
Right. We don't have nearly as many single-sex schools here as we do co-ed schools. Do you think that that is disadvantaging students across the board?
Actually, I think New Zealand is an example for the world, because in most major New Zealand cities, at least at secondary school, there is a choice within the public sector, which we don't have in the United States. And I often cite New Zealand as an example to Americans as what we should be trying to do. But what's missing in the New Zealand system is to have a similar choice amongst the primary schools.
Right.
There are very few primary schools. I don't know of any primary public schools in New Zealand that are single-sex.
If boys are taught in such a way, do they end up having better academic outcomes?
At primary school, yes. Here we've got good data from the United States where boys and girls were randomly assigned either to mixed classrooms or to single-sex classrooms. And the girls and boys, the boys in particular, did dramatically better, 30 percentile ranks better in the all-boys classroom.
Because there has been research done that has shown that there is no difference in academic outcomes between single-sex and co-ed schools.
At secondary school.
At secondary school. I mean, there's also the argument that students that attend a co-ed school are better socially.
Well, a boys' school should not be a monastery. A girls' school should not be a convent. You need to have lots of opportunities for girls and boys to interact. But I do want to respond to your comment that there's no difference in academic outcomes. Not quite the case. What we do find is that boys who attend all boys schools are much more likely to study subjects like art, music, advanced foreign languages compared to comparable boys at mixed schools. Likewise, girls at girls' schools are much more likely to study subjects like computer science, physics, and engineering. They may not necessarily get better grades and test scores than girls at the mixed schools, but the breadth of educational horizons is much wider for girls at girls' schools and for boys at boys' schools.
So what will you be talking when you're visiting the schools here? What will you be encouraging them to do?
Well, I'm here to learn as much as I am to teach, because, as I said, New Zealand at the secondary school is an example really to the rest of the world, and I'm anxious to learn more that I can share with folks back home in North America.
Let's talk about the ideal situation then, because you talked about how there should be interactions still. Some schools are trialling having single-sex classes within a co-ed class, a school, sorry. Would that be a good way to set it up?
Well, the question here is what's better, to have a girls' school on one campus and a boys' school on another campus, or to have a mixed school which offers some girls' classrooms and boys' classrooms. We now have about 390 public schools in the United States which are trialing both these formats. My personal assessment is that the all girls campus is preferable. When you have a mixed campus, the focus for girls tends to be on how you look rather than who you are. There's a tremendous and relentless emphasis on appearance in any mixed setting. And unfortunately, that just reflects our popular culture, this emphasis on how a girl looks. And the all-girls campus, it's much easier to get away from that if there's no boys around. But on the other hand, I don't speak for my association in that regard because we have good people on our advisory board who feel very strongly that the best format is to have a mixed campus with girls' classrooms and boys' classrooms, but bringing them together for lunch and recess and other
Right,
electives.
and I guess it all, as well, on top of all of this, comes down to the individual student as well.
That's right. Every child's unique, and the important thing is for parents to have a choice amongst the different formats so that parents can decide what's best for their child and then enroll the child in the appropriate school.
Thank you for joining us, Dr. Leonard Sax.
Thanks so much for inviting me.
Our online business resource centre is just one way we provide big help for small business. It's all part of the service.